Welcome back. We're going to decorate now, and I'm going to design on the fly, so this could be interesting. I did take a look through the papers, and just so you can grab, we've got this half a piece, which we're going to use up, use another piece for sure. And then I've decided we're going to lead with this piece here, this little plaid. The other side are these pretty pumpkins. I always hate to cover up foil, but I think we're going to need a little contrast here. And then I will use this piece, and I think I'm going to do the give thanks. So we'll cut that up as well. So then I've got the rest of the papers underneath, and we'll just go through them. All right, so I'm going to get my hands in the camera, make sure that I can see myself. And if I do get off camera for a little bit, I do apologize. There we go. There I am. And I do look up hopefully soon enough when I'm crafting so that I catch it soon enough that I'm not having you fly blind. All right. So here comes the trimmer. We're going to start with this pretty gingham maybe. A little plaid. I'm going to take the UPC off first. And it's got a pretty little border, so I save these until the end because I never know if I piece a couple pieces of paper, this kind of finishes those off, so we'll just wait and see. And so we've got this direction here. I'm going to cut this side so you can see my cut. So I'm going to move this down. So we started with a 7-inch tall piece of chipboard. We cut our foil to 6 3/4. So now I'm going to cut the, I'm going to use the flip side, but we're going to cut this decorative paper at 6 1/2. And then it's by 4 1/2. And we're going to need 2 of those. And I cannot for the life of me remember what I cut my back to. So I'm going to start with, I think it'll be about 2, but I'm going to start with 2 1/2 because again, yeah, I think 2 1/4 will be nice. I'm going to slide mine over to 2 1/4. And I think I could take 1 more 1/8 off. So 2 1/8 for me. Again, you'll want to measure yours because we could all be slightly different based on the gap we left between those pieces of chipboard. All right. So while I would love to see this, a lot of it's going to be covered anyway. So we're going to go with that gingham piece. So I'm going to put my trimmer down here. Get my glues. Anytime I'm dealing with this clear glue as well onto this type of foil, I have to be very careful because this glue will wipe the foil right off. And I forgot that while I was off camera, I refilled my glue so I don't have to squeeze quite as hard. So on that first hit, I did get quite a bit of glue. That's why I smeared it around a little bit. So I am sliding it into place, top, bottom, left, and right. I'm not squishing it real hard to avoid any ooze of the glue. All right, I'm going to want that to be able to set up, so I'm going to carefully flip it to the other side and do the same thing with my back. I have wanted to make this for a really long time. I hope it turns out pretty. I guess if you're here in class, you thought it turned out pretty. So we're going to do it together. Making sure that's still nice and straight, and it is. So now I'll glue to my spine here. It's getting a little close to camera. I think you can get the idea. There is a balance in getting the camera close enough to see and far enough to get these items into the camera. Okay, I'm just kind of patting it down till it grabs, and I'm gonna let that sit for just a minute. I'll put the lid back on my glue. Now we're gonna have to decide dimensions and how we cut the give thanks. So you'll want to pay attention to the directions I begin with, just so we can make maximum use out of our papers. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side. It can keep drying a little bit. So here's our give thanks. Again, I'm going to take the UPC off of this. And it's got a little interesting back side, but we'll save it. So now I'm going to turn it this direction, and I'm going to cut it to 6 wide. Looks like it's a little shorter here. Interesting. So I'm trying to cut along that divided line. So it's really almost 6 1/4. So this side's a little shorter in width. So I'm going to set this aside because we can use that back side as well, or we might use the focal points. So give thanks. I got a little bit of shadow there. So I'm just cutting them apart where the manufacturer printed that off. So this is way too wide. So I'm going to lose some of my flour here. I shouldn't lose too much of the pumpkin. So we're at 4 1/2 wide just on that gingham piece. So this is kind of an odd dimension. So I'm going to cut it to 5 1/4. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch off. I'm going to flip to my opposite side and take another 1/2 inch. So there's 1/4 and 1/4. So that's 4 3/4. So what I've done is I've kept this centered up. So 4 3/4 is still too wide. So I'm going to take 1/4 from this side, bring it to 4 1/2, flip it around, and take it to 4 1/4. All right, let's see how this looks up against our center, against our album. We definitely have some width there. So I think I need to lose a little bit more. So even though we know we're losing some pretty stuff, it's still going to be pretty. So I'm going to take 1/4 off again. Ouch. And I'm going to see if I can take 1/4 without digging into too much into that pumpkin. Yes. So it'll just look like it was made this way. So now I'm going to turn it top and bottom because it's way too long. I'm going to move my, from the top here, I'm going to move it to 6 inches. So I'm going to cut it at 6. I'm going to flip to my other side, and I'm going to cut 1/4 away. All right. Now let's see how this sits on my center. So it's pretty even, top, bottom, left, and right. So I'm liking that. So now I'm going to lay it on my rose gold foil. So I'm going to lay it about 1/8 away from my top and my left and glue that down. And then we will cut right and bottom. All right, so that's our next step. So I'm going to be careful with the oozing glue. And I do have a lamp here. I'm going to turn this lamp on, see if I can get a little bit better light. I hope that's not too much of a glare to your foil. So I'm going to lay it here, top and left. And if I do that, then I only have 2 cuts I need to make. All right, so now I'm going to turn it. So I think this is an easier cut to make first. And I think I'm going to cut it right at the 6 again. It's a little too long. for me, for mine, the way it placed. Still a little too long. I would rather make a few cuts. There we go, I like that. All right, and then I'm gonna lay it cut to my right. And a little bit of a shadow there. Okay, so that to me is centered up close enough. Top, bottom, left, and right. So there is our give thanks. Now, what I'm thinking, and I probably won't do it right at the moment, but we can extend the flowers maybe by adding a flower there. We'll just see how the flowers lay out and what we end up doing with the album. But that's my last step because I don't want to deal with this bulk chunky when we are on the inside putting papers on those flaps. So I'm going to put foam tape behind this give thanks. So let me get some of my foam tape. And my scissors. And rather than go long ways, I'm going to go short ways because when I've gone long a couple of times, it'll start to warp and pucker a little bit. So this way it helps the paper remain the original size and lay flatter, just elevated with the foam. I always want to keep my foam inside the edges by about a 1/4 of an inch, just so it's disguised well underneath the paper. And I'm going to come down here about a 1/4 of an inch so that that bottom has support too. I'd rather have a bigger gap between the two right there. All right, I'm going to peel away my backing. My hands were getting too full to keep holding the release paper. There we go. Okay, now, before I put this on, I'm not committed. This is definitely my front because there's my pocket. And I'm going to stand up for this so that I can see my album cover. And before I press it down, I'm eyeballing top and bottom, left and right. And whether or not it's perfect, this is as perfect as I'm going to get it. And there's our give thanks. Okay. That's as much as I'll do. And this may be all I do end up with the front cover because it's quite pretty. You can still see the gold. You know, that's a pumpkin and beautiful florals. So don't be afraid to cut down those cut aparts. All right, let's flip inside and start going from there. Move my foam tape a little bit out of the way, so bear with me here. And I always take a look at what I have left for scraps to see what I could do. So I do think I have enough. I like to match front and back. So I'm going to do the front and back with this piece here because it doesn't have to be the full length because we've got the pocket there. So I think it was 4 3/4. So, and now it's when you need a ruler. I'll need a ruler anyway. So if I start from there, I'm going to want to go down over the pocket. So 4 is just fine. So I'm going to, I'm not going to commit the whole thing to 4 3/4. So I'm going to turn it now. You can see the way I'm turning. We need it to be 4 long. And then by 4 3/4. And I need 2 of these. 4 long by 4 3/4. So I've got this piece at the maximum. Who knows what I'll use it for, but we've got a scrap. This is what we're going to put in above the pocket. And I'm going to need to take 1/8 off so it has room to slide in. So let's try 4 5/8. I forgot about needing to slide it in. Let's see if that's enough room to slide in. Yes. All right. So I like my front cover and back cover to match. It's kind of a balance thing. And I want this to slide, so I am still sticking with my Fabrifix glue. And this does not have a direction. So if I was using this side, it would, but this side, I can flip it any direction I want. So I'm just tucking it a little bit into that pocket, sliding it down. I'm going to make sure that it stops right where I added that paper. So there is my first page. And I'll flip to the very back and do the same thing here with the other piece that we cut. And I'm not going to decorate our pockets yet because that also is a good piece to use with scraps. So we'll wait till we've created another scrap. Okay, so there's our front and our back. So now, let's see what we have here. Well, actually, I like to use my other scrap. So let's see if there's a place that would be pretty for this piece. Just kind of flipping through the book. There was some noise in the kitchen. All right. I think I'm going to place it on the second to the last page. So you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to cut this to 4 by 4, and I'm going to cut it, my scrap, and yours should be the same, from the pumpkin. I want to save this pumpkin. So I'm going to lay it this direction, lay that right at the 4, and cut it to 4. And then make sure that that is a 4. And I'm going to flip it so I don't have to cut that pumpkin away. Just like that. Okay, so that's my 4 by 4, which is going to lay perfect in this 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. And if I flip in the book a couple of pages, then you have a shot at some of the design being continuous, right? From the front to the back. Instead of running all out of the first paper and then you move on to the second paper. So you got a shot. Some of that will carry through the book. All right. Now we've got the other 6 by 6 squares, but I think that's too dull. So let's dig out some beautiful paper. We've got so much to work with. The next one I have, and maybe I was taking a test drive on the cover, but this is absolutely gorgeous. So I want that to show a lot. So let's use this in our front right there. Won't that be so pretty, just like that? So let's get our measurement here for this piece. We're going to need to cut 2 of them, this exact same dimension. So we'll go ahead and cut 2 from here. And here's my ruler. So we'll want this to be 4 inches wide. And then we'll want it to be 6 1/2 tall. So I'm going to cut 6 1/2 first. So I'm coming where the UPC is at my right. I'm going to cut it to 6 1/2. And then I'm going to turn it and cut 2 pieces that are 4 wide. So I'm just going to move it to 8 and move it again to 4. So I actually have 3. I might find another piece in this album that might be only 4 inches wide. All right. So we're going to feature this beautiful piece of paper, just like that. So we'll put our glue. And I'm just sliding it into place, top, bottom, left, right. There we go. So now when we flip it open, we have to decide, do I want to keep seeing pumpkins? which I think I do. I just can't bear right now to flip over to, I mean, this is fine. But when we can show that beautiful foil, why wouldn't we? Okay. Oops, I almost glued my pumpkins upside down. I'm going to press down here. Okay, and now this piece will not be wide enough. This is going to be slightly wider. Oh, look at that. That's the actual cut. Too bad. But we need this to be wider. So let's see if there's another place this nice scrap of 4 inches wide would work. I have a weird feeling about that. I do like it there. And look at that's the perfect piece. So we're just going to go ahead and glue that one right down to the back. Sometimes when you're black on black, it gets a little confusing. What's the edge? But so if that's the case, lift it up, try to find your paper edge. Just like that. Okay. The next piece I have is this beautiful kind of a pink background, and it's got the rose gold foil in it again. So let's see where we can place this. That's going to be too much, I think. It's pretty, but too much foil and foil. So let's go to, oh, I guess this was the very last one. I hope you knew that's where we placed it. So now I'm coming to the front side of that. Last insert page, front side. And I think this is our gatefold. Yeah, okay. So this beautiful here, Grateful Heart, but we're not going to use that piece. We'll save it because we're going to cut this direction. So again, it will be 6.5 wide, or 6.5 tall, sorry. So hopefully we can salvage this for something else, or at least we're leaving it as a possibility. So let's get our measurement here. I think this should be 4 also. Yes, so we're gonna need 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4 that are 4 wide by 6.5, and then we get the measurement on the inside, which will probably be a little wider. All right, so let's cut 3 of these. So I'm gonna slide it over to 8. That's our first 4-inch cut, and 4. Okay. So here's our first gatefold piece. We're going to glue that right on the top. And then I like the piece underneath it to be different so that it has some contrast. And I'm going to try to move the camera down just a little bit so it keeps my hands in the camera. And I've got a little ooze coming out. So the nice thing about this Fabri-Tac glue is if you just rub your finger back and forth and back and forth, it'll just kind of roll up into a ball and roll away. Okay, so what I mean is this will show through a little bit better if it's a different design than if it's the same design. So I like a little contrast. So I'm going to flip and do the back side here when we glue this down. So I've got to cover up that pretty foil. And you can do whatever you want with yours, whatever you like. So there's our 2 pieces there. And we should have a third. What did I do with it? Right here. Okay. So I'm not going to have another one, but I can flip this side because it's not directional. I can use that scrap and cut another piece. That is that one maybe. I may move on because I don't want to not have something pretty that balances out. So let's see here. Is that 4 inches wide? Nope, that's too much. Too much. All right, let's go back to the front. I'm just having to deal with me think through design. That one needs to be the wider. Be pretty complicated of a cut, but we could do it. Okay, so this is what I think we're gonna do. This has to be cut down to 4 by 4. So I'm going to take Grateful Heart. You can see where I'm placing the paper. And I'm gonna have to trim it tighter. All right. So if I cut right here at 4. I'm gonna come up tight and flip it. I don't think I told you where I cut that at. 4.5, where I cut that off. Flip it around now, and I'm gonna cut this at 4. So that's my best square that I can do. And then with the other scrap, I'm gonna do another 4 by 4 for the bottom. Okay, so just like that. And I do like contrast, so I might do that. Well, that's pretty. I took that for a test drive. So up here at the top, we're gonna put the Grateful Hearts. Let's go ahead and glue that down. Okay, open it up away from the magnet. And this magnet's a little tight to the edge. I'm just gonna put some glue in a circle around that. Whoops. And then I'm going to glue the back side, that pretty rose gold, so that this little grid shows up here. So there we go. I think it's looking very pretty. We might have lots of paper left, I don't know. But it's already been bagged up in the kit, so you get it all. You know, we do have this scrap of rose gold, so that might be pretty there. So let's cut this scrap piece of rose gold to 4 by 4. And then this is the Hello Autumn. Oh, do I want to lose that one? I might want to cut that piece down. Maybe Fall Hugs. So I'm going to take this piece at the top where Fall Hugs is, and I'm going to cut it to 3 7/8 by 3 7/8, because I don't want too much of the rose gold foil to show through. So I think that's a nice edge around there. So we're back to the very front page. I'm going to glue my rose gold on first. Just going to kind of hold it till it grabs, because it's got a little curve. I don't want that to pop up. And then it's kind of muted two-tone. I want to see if that's a little too wide for it. Nope, that's okay. All right. I'll put my glue on this piece, which I love the little dots there, but I guess you can't use it all. There we go, just like that. We'll put something pretty on the front there too. What does it say on the front? Give thanks. So let's see if I cut this all the way down, this Hello Autumn. I'm just going to cut out the Hello Autumn, that white edge, as close as I can. I'm going to come in a little bit because it's got a curve to it. Come get my first edge a little cleaner. Okay, just want to have a shot at this on the center. I don't think it looks too bad. What do you think? I think we put that there. All right, so let's glue Hello Autumn right there. I always like that first page when you open the book to be very pretty. I like the whole thing to be pretty, but I like this to catch your eye. There we go. So now we need another piece on the inside here. So let's go ahead and cut, not with any rose gold. So we're going to cut this again. We might be able to save fall, so I'm going to cut here from the top. So let's cut this direction, it's this side. So all we need is a piece that's 4 by 4. So I've still saved the option for fall, 4 by 4, just like that. And we'll glue that to the back side of this panel with the magnet. I'm kind of holding right here where that magnet is, so it doesn't leave a gap when it dries. Pressing it down, it gives it a little bit of time for it to grab. I think that should be good. Okay, so let's get our inside measurement here for width, because we're going to dig out another piece of paper. I'm going to cut mine to 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. Let's see, I'm looking through our pile to see what we have. We haven't used a couple of beautiful prints. Let's see. We did use those pumpkins already. I don't want it to compete with this beautiful pumpkin over here. This is the back side of the Blessed Cut Apart, so we'll probably save one of those. How do you feel about that? That's not bad. I think we're going to stick with something a little quieter. So we're going to cut this sweater paper. From the top at 6 1/2. So our UPC is to the right here. And then I need this one that's going to be 4 1/4. Because all this paper was made together, it's all going to blend. So it's going to go right there. So that closes. You've got a little bit of sweater edge there, which is nice. A little bit of contrast. So that's our first page, and that one, I believe all the pieces are covered. Yes. All right, so one is done. Now let's flip to this. So we've got to do the back sides here. So for, let's see. I wonder, for a little continuity, let's go ahead and cut this one, the centerpiece, and it's probably 4 1/4, but don't want to guess, so I'm going to lay my ruler down. Yeah, 4 1/4 wide for this inside piece. Okay, we'll bring it back in camera. just be sure you don't glue over your scored lines. I had a little bit of glue, so I'm just rubbing back and forth until that glue rubs away into a ball. Okay. So I can get 2 4x4s out of this last piece, this sweater paper. So why not? And I'm not saving anything on the back because we have another sheet of these cut aparts. So I decided I like this for my top. So 4. And then I need 2 that are 4. So if I move that 12 over to 8, that's 1 and 1 more. All right, bringing it back in camera. We're going to glue our insides here. So I might do it like this and like that, so that that kind of border of sweater is on the top and the bottom. Then I'll move it up a little bit. I think you understand, but just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to put that here and at the opposite end up at the top here. Okay, close that up, press down and press down. So that one is done. I'm going to save the waterfall. We'll come back to that one because we've got this one with just a few odds and ends. And we've got some scraps going here. Trying to decide if I want this, if I want this. I think we'll use this last scrap on the grid side. So let's get our measurement here. Our height is fine, but we need to know how wide this is. I think it's 3 inches. Yes, we'll cut it to 3 inches. All right. Just like that. This is going to go right along here, which will be a nice contrast when that pretty comes over top of it. All right, we need another piece that is 6 tall. And these, I'm not interested right now in this burlap. There's too many other pretty papers, and this is directional. So we may end up putting that on the pockets. Wouldn't that be pretty? Let's just go ahead and do that now. Let's do that. All right, so let's get our pocket height for the front and back. This is at 3, looks like 3.5 maybe. I think we'll cut this to 3 1/4 tall, and then we'll cut it to 4.5 wide. I'm gonna do 4.5 by 3 1/4. One more, 4.5 by 3 1/4. So I've got these 2 little pieces. I don't know if we'll use them for anything. Actually 3 pieces, but we've maximized the possibilities. All right. So this is going to go right there. Ooh, so pretty, right? Okay. Got a little close to my edge. I'm just going to push it in a little bit. Whoops, into my lap. All right, so there's the first one. We'll flip to our back and do the same thing right there. Okay. I'm just gonna let it sit up for a minute so they don't slide. And I'm gonna take a little drink of my carbonated grape water. Sparkling water. Okay, so both of those are looking good. All right, time to break out another paper. Let's do our waterfall next. This is kind of tough because it's almost centered up. So if I cut here, it could look a little weird with our focal points. I don't know. Should we risk it? I don't know. It's beautiful. But those are, I think we're just gonna risk it. Just let the paper fall where they may. So this paper is, we're gonna wanna cut it to, I think 4 by 4. So we can get a lot of them. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just for the fronts. So let's take our UPC off first. This may not be the best choice, but we can disguise it later if we need to. All right, so let's cut 4. And then we're gonna move it over, cut 3 of them. 4 and 4. All right, we'll do the same thing. We'll cut it to 4, tall. Turn it, move it to 8, and move it to 4. So now we have 6 pieces. And you should have the same cuts that I have. So I'm just gonna see if any one lined up better to be our very top lead. They're all a little off center, so I don't think it will matter. This was my last one on, but I think it might have been my first cut. We'll see on camera. But anyway, I'm gonna glue that one on first, and then I'm not gonna worry about the rest of them. And it's a little tight, so I'm gonna just put a little glue around my, circle around my magnet to make sure that we've got some glue there for this paper to grab to it. All right, I'm gonna test drive something else. I'm gonna do my flip side of this and see if I like that little plaid. It's kind of nice, isn't it? What if we did every other? Kind of break that up. I like that. Let's do every other. So, put my glue on the back side. I am sliding it into place. Pretty. All right, and then we'll do the foil side on this one. When you're working with beautiful paper, it just makes your job so much easier, right? Very good. Okay, and now the back side again. Interesting. I don't like that as well. I know this is weird, but I'm going to turn mine. I want this a little more muted rather than the stark white. Got little webs of glue there, so I'm just rubbing those away. Okay. Yeah, I like that better. It's a little bit more muted. And then the pretty side up. All right, and our last one will be the plaid. I think I'm going to turn it, continue that muted color. Ooh, I don't like that so much though. Let's try that guy. Nothing is ideal, right? I think that'll be pretty. Okay, so this is the direction I'm choosing, and you could have had yours in a different order. It's not going to matter. I might have already just flip-flopped it. It's okay. So I'm going to come down as close as I can to my score there without going over. All right, so there's the first part of our waterfall. Ooh, you guys, we have a scrap that is perfectly wide. So find this little piece here. And if you don't have it, you're going to want to cut one that is exactly 1 inch wide. And then our measurement for height is going to be 3 1/2. So 1 by 3 1/2. I'm going to place that right there on my closure. All right, and I need another scrap. This piece is not long enough. Let's see if we have anything. This is kind of fun. We're never going to have a full sheet of this paper. So this is from our cut apart. Find one of your scraps. And I'm going to cut it to 1 by 3 1/2. If you don't have that, just find another scrap, because I think I have one like this. Well, that's not quite so wide. But you should have a couple of pieces when we cut away that fall. Now I'm going to do the back side of our closure. And I'm just going to put a little bit around, make sure there's glue there to seal that paper to the magnet. So I'm going to need to hold on to this for just a minute, and you'll want to do the same thing so it grabs that magnet. Sorry, my rings are making noises. So just hold on to it and let it grab. All right. Still feel like I got a little pucker there. Okay, and we'll come back and do the back sides based on what paper we have left. Okay, so there's that piece. Come back. So now we want whatever's under here. It's going to show a lot. We have this beautiful vellum. I wish I knew what to do with that. It's so pretty. Wonder how that would be. Vellum. And then what could we do to cover it up when we glue it? We've got to use it. We've got to be brave and use it. I wonder how, I've got this piece of fall. I wonder how that would look back there. It'd be a little top heavy, but that's fine. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's get the fall cut. So it's 6 1/4. So I'm going to take 1/4 off first. I should have done it differently. 5 3/4. All right. So now I'm going to take this to 5. Take this to 4 1/4. I'm going to take 1/8 off of both ends. And that gets me to 4 and keeps it centered. And then this I'm just going to take at the top, at the 4 mark, and cut it to 4. A little confusing, I'm sure. Now you see how I think. And that's going to go to the inside of that flap. And you or the recipient of this, whoever you give it to, can cover that up with a picture. And if they don't want to, they can have the decoration. All right. So our measurement here, we've got this long scrap. It is directional now. So we could put a little plaid in there on the inside flap. So this is 6 1/2 tall, and then it's 3 wide. So we grab that little scrap, can't use that side, so we're flipping it over. And so this is, we've got the first insert, this is our second insert, and we're on the back. And on that inside, so we're going to put our glue here. Just like that. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to cut the vellum. We may decide we hate it. I'll take it out of my package. I don't have any vellum adhesive, so if you do, you'll want to use your vellum adhesive. I'm going to see how this glue works. Oh, that's so pretty. So we're going to cut this. I'm going to go ahead and make my 6 1/2 first. So I'm turning it the direction. Look where my pumpkins are. And I'm going to cut it at 6 1/2. And this is by 4 1/4. Let's see if we like this soft, wispy feel. It's definitely got a different effect to it, doesn't it? It's very pretty. I'm just going to glue it, guys, just like a piece of paper, because even this is too translucent to hide my glue behind the pumpkin. And let's just see how my clear glue dries. So I am going to be a little neater about it, maybe. We'll just see how that glue dries. It may have this ugly, but I mean, it's not dry yet. Let's see how it dries, if it clears up a little bit. If not, we'll cover it up with a different piece of paper. I'm going to try that vellum. We'll have to give that time to see how it dries. We'll come back to it. Oh, scary, scary. All right. I wonder how it would feel to have the wispier vellum under the solid. Interesting. We'll wait on that. I want to see how this dries. So it's a test. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick another piece of paper in our pile. And I don't think we've done a lot of featuring of this piece of paper. We've got a couple of snippets, but we could do this on the back side. That looks good with our plaid. So I'm gonna cut, we don't need as many. 1, 2, 3, 4. We only need 5 that are 4x4. So I'm gonna put my UPC to the right, come on here to the top and take it all the way down to 4. And I'm gonna cut 3 of them. So we're gonna cut to 8 and then to 4. So we just need 2 more. Put this back in, UPC to the right, take it down to the 4. I'm gonna move it over to 8 and a 4. So we'll have 1 extra square. All right, coming back in camera. I'm just gonna start gluing them down. It doesn't matter which one goes first. And they're all gonna be the white with floral side up. There's the first one. Lift up. Here's our second. There's definitely a top and a bottom. So here's the bottom of a pumpkin for me. A piece of like stringy glue in the way. Okay. And one more. Can't get a hold of it. Get over here. There we go. All right, we'll bring them all back down and close them up. So our waterfall is done. So front page is all done. Okay. Back side of that first page is all done. We know the waterfall is done. Flip over here. This is not drying pretty, guys, so I don't know. I think I might have to cover it up or peel it off. It's too bad. I don't have any vellum adhesive. When I looked it up, you can't really see where it was. Huh. I wish I could figure out something to do with this. It's so pretty. Well, plan B, plan B. Lots of pretty paper we have left. Well, let's see. We've already got that on the front. How does that look on the back? Pretty. And it goes with our right side. So let's do that. Find your pink with the rose gold speckles. 6.5 is our height. 4 1/4 is our width. And we say bye-bye to the vellum. Okay, so this is all done. We've got the main, we've got the back side, which is a 3x3, 3x6.5. So that looks like we planned it to go together. So that one's all done. This one, we've got a little bit more to go. So this was 4 by 6.5. I'm looking over our scraps. I don't want to overuse any paper either. But we do have these two. Nope, it's two. It's not wide enough. So we're not going to use that one. Maybe go back to our black. This guy. We want to use the back side? Nope. All right. So we will use the plaid for the middle. So we're going to cut. We've got the UPC to the right. We're sliding it down to 6.5 tall. We need two of them that are 4 inches wide. 2 of them that are 4 inches wide. And then while we have our paper, this doesn't matter what direction. So now I'm going to go this way. And our inside width, I'm assuming is 4 1/4, but you know what happens if you assume it might be a little wider. So I'm just going to get it where it's flat, like this. And 4 1/4 is correct. So we're going to cut this to 4 1/4. By 6 1/2. And that's going to go in our belly band, and I'm going to make sure that it'll slide in. It will. Okay, so I'll bring this all back into camera. So here's when we open our doors. We're going to have this dark with the rose gold foil on the left and the right. And you've got a magnet there, so I'm going to hold my fingers for a minute. That looks good. And then I'll do the same thing on my right. Oh, that pretty butterfly is showing, pretty pretty. And to get a good contact, I'm going to close it and press down. So I'm not trying to hold it in the air and do that. Now this we're going to slide into the belly band and on top. So my glue should slide nicely with it. I'm just going to be careful that I don't lay that over there. So I'm going to kind of come up at an angle. Push in, get it up over that seam, and press down. All right, so now we need this belly band. Let's get our width. Looks like it's 1 3/4. We're going to cut it to 1 1/2. It should be 6 1/2. 1 1/2 by 6 1/2. So let's look through our scraps. If you'll bear with me. Do it together. I think that, oh, I was going to say it looks silly, but it looks kind of nice. Let's use this scrap. Okay. So 1 1/2 by 6 1/2. 1 1/2. Ooh, right along that cute edge. Isn't that fun? I like it when it just works out. 6 1/2. Bring my album back into the camera. Pretty cute, isn't it? Okay. Glue. I have an idea on the vellum. I might not be able to salvage the one piece, but you'll get an extra piece out of it. Let's see what we have for extra. Whoops, got a little oozing going on there. There we go. So this page is completely done. All right, so we need the back side here, which is going to be 4 by 6 1/2. I'm looking at my scraps. You should have the same scraps. It's kind of nice. We've got our plaid here, so I'm going to use this piece left over. Cut it to 4 by 6 1/2, and that'll be the upside of the flap. And glue it right to the upside. Okay, I like that it's pretty straight, so I'm going to lay it down and kind of press so I can get it to make contact without hanging in the air. All right, I'm going to test drive this color underneath. It's pretty good. It's the back side. All right, let's try it again. Dots, and you've got your grid. All right, let's see what our eye just saw. We just saw a lot of the dots, so I don't think we need to see the dots again. So let's use the grid this time. All right, so I believe this is going to be, yeah, 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. So it's already 6 1/2. I'm going to turn it then and cut, whoops, 4 1/4. Bring this back in the camera, and that's going to get glued right below on that larger piece. And again, if you like the other sides better, you go for it. It's your album. But at least you get to see how I think when I'm putting pieces together. I don't like that corner sticking up there, so I'm going to grab a little bit of my art glitter glue with this really fine tip. I'm just going to tuck a little glue at that corner. There we go. So now this side is all done. So we might be done. Let's go take a look again. Here's our front. Done. Here's the back. Done. Something's grabbing there. A little piece of glue maybe. And then here's page 2. Got all our waterfall. So here's the back of page 2. And page 3. This is that belly band. And the back of page 3. All right, so we have our inserts. Let's pull those out. Okay, and let's get our measurements. So these begin at 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So we want 4 by 6. So let's see what we have for scraps. I don't think that's going to be long enough. Nope. Okay. All right, we're going to start with a fresh piece. Fresh piece. We need front and back, so we need 6 pieces that are 4 by 6. 2, 4, 6. So we can do 1 sheet of paper. That side, that back side's kind of boring, but that's okay. All right, and we have to decide, do I want to see this tucking out or do I want to see it going this way? And I think most of your photos that we make are horizontal rather than vertical. So I'm going to gear that my mat is going to be lined up for that dimension, that size of, that direction of a photo. So that's the way we're going to cut these. So take our UPC off. And we're going to cut to 8 and to 4. And then we're going to cut to 6. So there's 2 of them. And a 6. Here's another 2. And one more. Cut it to 6. So now we've got some gluing to do. And because these are going to slide in and out of our album paper, of those little pouches, I don't want a lot of loose where it could get caught. So I'm going to use my white glue, try to get as close to the edges as I can for a nice seam on this paper to the black paper. Always a little bit in the middle so we don't have a pucker bubble. And that's 1. I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to use the back side, which would be just fine for a photo mat. Just give it a little bit of variety. It's weird that this print is crooked. All right, next one. Oops. Again, I want it to be tightly glued if I can on all 4 sides, just so it doesn't snag when you're trying to slide it in and out of your pouches. Close to the edges as I think I can get. All right. Here's another one. Last side. All right, let's slide these into our pouches. There we go. Mine is getting caught on something. Yours is, just work at it till it lives where it's supposed to live. I gotta turn on some air conditioning. All of a sudden it got hot in here. I'm gonna put all of them with my pretty pumpkins forward. Just kind of gotta open up. There's my pouch. Definitely something not right with this one. Let me see what's going on here. Yep, that's all. Sometimes they get caught and glued together, but that seems fine. All right, that one. So now last pouch. There's my middle opening. I'm gonna slide my little insert. Look at, oh, cute, cute, cute. Isn't that looking so rich and pretty? Okay. So we've got our inserts done. Now we've got some scraps, we've got some vellum, but I don't think I have it tall enough. I put it in like that. I was thinking we could let the vellum be the edge and put a center in there. We could do that maybe. I have really committed. We can do that on one piece. So let's go to our belly band piece. So it's the front of the last page. I'm gonna cut this piece of vellum that I have left that is I'm gonna cut it to 6 1/4 by 4. All right, we're not done with it, but I just want to show you what we're going to do. We're going to slide that in the belly band here. Now, we've got this piece of black left, right? So we did 6 1/4 by 4. So let's cut this to 5 3/4. So we're taking a 1/2 inch less, 5 3/4, and then by 3 1/2. And get our piece of vellum. I think we should make it even a little smaller. 5 1/2. Take another 1/4 off by 3 1/4. Just so you have a little bit more wispy vellum there, and I'm gonna glue another one on the back. So 3 1/4 is our final measurement by 5 1/2. 3 1/4, 5 1/2. That's kind of a rough edge. Let's put 5 1/2 there. All right, so first I'm gonna glue one piece. You should use the white glue so it can be nice and close to the edge. I hope this glues the vellum pretty good. You should have, if you didn't cut along with me, you might have. You might have more vellum that you could do this again. So I'm just going to want to match this one up to the back side. I might hold it up where I can see. There we go. Having a little challenge sticking. Just having to press it down till it connects and dries. But there's your piece of vellum, and that will slide into our belly band. Yeah, I definitely want to get that glued. If not, it's going to catch. Also kind of just bending it back and forth so it's not so stiff. Lift up my belly band a little bit. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to. There's your little inserts that can come in and out. Okay. So we also have, let's see what we have for our scraps. That can go in our pocket. So this is a scrap, but it can tuck in just fine. So it is 4 by 6 1/2. And I like it just like that. That's gonna go in our front pocket. Let's see if we have another scrap that's good enough. Too narrow. So this scrap can tuck in our back because it's okay front and back. No, it's not. This one is, the front side is, front and back is fine. Again, so we could, nope, we've already used fall. I need to clean this up. So this is, we cannot use this side and flip it around and be okay. This is the wrong direction for me. These aren't really big enough. Wrong direction, wrong direction. cannot use. There's my vellum. I wish you could use vellum. I guess you could, and then put your picture on top of that. Let's leave that back there. I don't have any other scraps, so you don't either, that we can use for an insert. And that's, this you cannot flip back and forth. Maybe. How does that look if we flip it? I guess you got them coming different directions. We could do this guy in the back. Let's do that. So, thank you for going along the journey. We're going to cut to 6.5. And what was our width? 4 1/4. We're going to cut it to 4. So front and back, and that's going to be just fine. So take out the vellum. I have to let go of the vellum idea. So we've got this one in the back and this insert in the front. Okay. So I think this is a long enough video. This is where I'm going to leave us now. I'll clean up my scraps, and then we have some beautiful chipboard pieces that we get to add. We'll do that on the next video. And we've got our flowers. And I did do a couple of cut-aparts. We'll see if we can add those as well. And we'll go from there. All right, I'll see you on the last video. Thank you for your patience when you listen to my wandering mind. I hope you're having fun. I'll see you on the last one.